The official confirmation came in this message conveyed from the Pope's current spokesman. It was with this photo that his 22 years as head of the Vatican Communication Department were summarized. When he became the spokesman for John Paul II, Joaquín Navarro-Valls was 48 years old and was a correspondent in Rome for the Spanish newspaper ABC.
I said, "Holy Father, this is a very big responsibility for me. It's a subject that can worry anyone." He told me something that has helped me often in life. You cannot do a job well if you only think about responsibility. If you're only thinking about responsibility, then you feel like you're tied up, like locked inside that responsibility. It was a very wise advice that has helped me many times, and I have gained a lot during those 22 years working with him.
He professionalized and expedited the way of communicating from the Vatican. Thanks to his exceptional harmony with the Pope, he quickly became one of his main collaborators. He had hundreds of stories from those years and was part of the Vatican delegation for the summits on population and women in Cairo and Beijing. He also paved the way for John Paul II's trip to Cuba.
I remember the afternoon in which we had already ended the journey. We were at the airport to take the plane. Castro came to say, "I appreciate everything you said in this country, even the things that you said with which I could not agree with." It is a very delicate and polite way of saying that naturally he could not have agreed with everything the Pope would have changed. I remember during the last years of his life, when we were in the mountains, especially in the summer. I once took a photograph for some of the newspapers that had asked for it. Parkinson's disease had made John Paul II, who always had an expression and was always smiling, lose his smile, at least externally. Then, remembering that he was very fond of circus clowns, I sometimes put on a fake red clown nose. I would say, "Holy Father." He would then look at me, and during these moments was when he would laugh. Then I would take a photograph and thus could give the press a photo of the Pope on those occasions.
Journalists saw his most human side when his voice cracked while explaining John Paul II's medical situation.
El Papa lúcido, extraordinariamente sereno, con la logica relativa a difficoltà di respirare. Immagine nuova. Difficoltà respiratoria, logica. Se ci sono altri aggiornamenti poi ci teniamo in contatto. Comunque, come sapete, la sala sarà sempre aperta. Grazie.
It was a silent farewell. There was no need for words. He looked at us in the eyes. Everything was already said. It wasn't necessary to try and say anything. The next day, less than 24 hours later, he died.
He was also the face of the Vatican during the vacant papal see and during the conclave that elected Benedict XVI. For a year, he was the spokesman for the new Pope and accompanied him in his first steps and travels.
In the wasteland of deep thought during our era, the voice, the word, the conceptual richness of Benedict XVI is filling an era.
Although he was Spanish, his city was Rome. It is here he will also be buried, and with him, an important chapter of the history of the Vatican.